think we might be live. I'm not sure. I think we're live. Let me just double check. Yes, we're live. All right.
There we go. We got one hand.
Hey, Katie. So, for those of you expecting us to go live at 2:20, sorry, we ran into some technical difficulties. I am pretty sure it was our fault for trying to use a fancy microphone that ended up crashing everything. So, my apologies if I'm screwing up anybody's schedule. But, without further ado, got Carlos here. Carlos is our business development manager. That'll be joining for today's AMA session, and by request, Carlos is wearing his blue tie. I wore red by contrast. You can't tell on the video.
No,
So
it looks black.
yeah, it does. It's velvet. Oh, there we go. Get it in the right light.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, it's velvet?
Yeah. Very hard to tie a velvet tie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy. All right. Yeah, try it out.
I like it.
Anyway, so we appreciate everybody who has been patient and sent in some questions for us. That we'll try those first.
Sure.
Anything that comes in live, we'll get to you too.
Sure.
And I think we'll extend the live event here 20 minutes past to make up for our lost time.
Sure.
So.
Absolutely. Sounds like a plan.
All right.
All right. So we have a bunch of general questions. We're going to go into a couple state questions, specifically California, it looks like here. And then, yeah, like Steve said, we're going to get to some of those live questions. So please don't hesitate to put those in the comments there so we can get to them. I say we start out with Maggie.
Okay.
All right. All right. So Maggie from coastal Central California says here, what are your thoughts on 30 days to several months furnished rentals in coastal Central California? Technically, the short-term renter becomes a legal California tenant with California tenant rights.
I was going to say that.
Is it worth the extra income?
Hi Lisa Howard. I see you jumping in here. Have you ever seen Modern Family, that show?
Some, here and there.
All right. Mitch and Cam, they're in California. Mitch and Cam purchased their home and they use the upstairs as a rental.
Okay.
And they've got to make sure that they're getting people out at that 30-day mark. And of course they get somebody that slides under the wire and then becomes a squatter.
Gotcha.
So that's the risk that you run.
Okay.
The upside to it is short-term rentals like that are usually pretty successful, and especially if you can get into a niche like traveling nurses, corporate short-term rentals. So you got an executive, that needs a place for a week or two. They don't want to put them up in a hotel. So it can definitely be successful. You for sure have to be mindful of the fact that they become an occupant after 30 days.
Okay.
So I would say really good screening, understanding what their reasoning is for that short-term rental.
Okay.
If they're out of town, if they, again, traveling, they've got a good reason for it. But you got to be vigilant. You cannot be asleep at the wheel and just let that thing lapse.
So what you're saying is it's good as long as you can make sure that they're not going beyond that 30 days?
Unless you
verify they're like you just said, those examples of traveling nurse and stuff like that.
Yeah, or unless you plan to have, you have to have a plan in place for what happens after that 30 days.
Right.
And you want to know that ahead of time. So if your plan is you cannot be here past 30 days, you got to make sure you tell them that and they know that they're out.
Is there any part in the law that says then the property has to be vacant for a minimum amount of time before you can rent it out again to kind of start that over again?
No.
So technically, could you write up a lease for 30 days and at the 30-day mark tell this person, say, hey, listen, we're going to write a new lease for another 30 days?
No, because once they're there, they're an occupant regardless of the lease term. So,
well, the original lease term is what I'm saying. So
yeah,
the original was 30 days, and then it ends.
Well, let me put it this way. Let's say they signed a 15-day lease.
Okay.
But they happen to be there for 30 days anyway. You're still in the exact same situation. It doesn't.
I gotcha.
The lease term itself Doesn't matter. It matters how long they've actually been there.
How long they've actually been there? Okay.
Yeah, how long they've been an occupant there. So just be mindful of it. Know who you're renting to,
Right.
what the reasons are, and if it's going to be a long term, then I would, or longer than 30 days, I would treat it as longer than 30 days.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, Maggie. I hope that answers questions. If not, and you're listening, hit us up in the comments here, and we can elaborate a little bit more on that. But that's our take on that. Just, I guess, screening, making sure that the person that you're going to rent to is only going to be there a certain amount of time. All right, sounds good. John, let's see what we got here. Okay, John says, I have a tenant who likes to punch holes in walls and rip doors off the kitchen cabinets. Should I have a contractor repair these items now and charge the tenant the full cost, or wait until the tenant moves out and take it out of his security deposit?
No, make him pay now.
John, how do you know he likes to do this?
Yeah.
I mean, has this... I guess my question would be, has this happened more than once?
It has, if he likes to do it, I would say...
I hope, John, you're not just driving by and looking in the windows and watching this guy just punch holes in the walls.
My thought is, like, make him pay now.
Okay.
So he knows.
You wouldn't let him just live in squalor?
No, because...
So now you don't have any cabinets on any of your kitchen cabinets,
because
or any doors.
It's dangerous to assume that the security deposit's going to cover it.
That, right.
If he really enjoys doing it, and you've got time plus him enjoying doing it, how many holes in the wall is he going to punch, and how much is that security deposit going to cover? I'd make him pay for it and feel that and know he's responsible.
Okay.
It's not coming out of the security deposit. You want to preserve and save that security deposit for something you might not be aware of until he moves out.
Gotcha.
So if you know it's a problem, address that issue and say, you can go to those, what are they called, crash house places that you go actually.
Oh yeah. I've seen
Smash House.
Smash House. I
Yeah.
think they're called.
You go and smash stuff, like that's what those are for, not someone else's.
Christmas is right around the corner. Maybe you should get the guy to pay for the cabinets, and then buy him a punching bag for Christmas.
Yeah.
Like, here you go, man.
Yeah, something more productive.
Hit the bag.
Yeah.
All right. So to answer the question, John, it looks like Steve's advice on something like that is definitely get that stuff fixed. Get this guy to pay for it, and like Steve says, just you want to make sure you secure that safety deposit or security deposit for other issues.
Protect that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
you're gonna need it.
You're gonna need
You're
it.
gonna need it if this guy enjoys being disruptive.
I've never seen that. That's something here. Enjoys doing that. Okay.
I feel like I've seen people who enjoy doing it. They're usually just not open about it.
Right.
Like I like doing it. That's. Yeah.
He just comes home one day.
Yeah, you got to get rid of that guy.
What are you doing? What are you doing tomorrow? I'm thinking about punching some holes in the walls.
Mm-hmm.
Come on over. Let's have a beer. All right, Marianne. Marianne says, as a landlord, I try to keep a current tenant credit card on file. I use it to charge damages when damages are above the security amount. The problem is, and when I was reading this, I almost word for word here. The problem is, by the time I go to charge the credit card,
it's expired.
It's no longer valid.
Yeah.
How do you suggest I manage this better?
Well, first, you also have to understand. Oh, I don't even know if there's language on an agreement that you can have on there that says you're going to keep a card on file.
Right.
And 9 months later, I can charge it.
Yeah.
It's not like a hotel that they know the length of your stay.
Sure.
And they say, keep your card on file for potential damages.
Mm-hmm.
You're agreeing to that term, and you know when those damages would be charged.
Right. So that, it definitely comes down to the verbiage that Marianne's using in her lease, and if she's not,
yeah,
that's a line I don't know that you want to really walk down.
Yeah. So I'd have to do a little bit of research, but I'll tell you the right thing to research would be, can you hold a card on file in perpetuity, forever?
Right.
And charge whenever you want.
Okay.
And is there language in an agreement that allows for that scenario? My gut says no. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. I don't know. I know in business terms that you cannot do that. You just can't.
Okay. I would think, Marianne, also when you're, let's just say, you do your research and everything looks good and everything that you're doing is within compliance so that you don't get pinched. But I would think the best thing would be you stated no longer valid. I don't know if that means like the the card itself is not valid, like the expiration date has expired on it, or that also could mean, I don't know if you really want to look into it, not valid, meaning that you tried to run it and it just came back declined. But
Yeah.
when you take the credit card information, I would assume that you put that, like that end date or
Yeah.
expiration date on there, and maybe say, hey, this is expiring like mid lease.
I was just gonna say, if anything, you want to
Do
manage.
you have another card?
Yeah, or manage the expiration date. Put a Google Calendar or something
Right.
a couple of weeks out.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, your card's about to expire. It's highly unusual.
Yeah.
In all the years that I've been doing this, I got to say I've never heard of anyone keeping a card in file. Doesn't mean it's wrong. Maybe it's genius.
Sure.
But I've never seen it, and something tells me that it's not, somehow it's not compliant.
I think I would go more towards, let's raise up that security deposit a little bit more, maybe if you're kind of fearful of that
Yeah.
or something like that,
Or kind of tying it back to the other question that we just had, I think from John. It sounds like she's doing a good job understanding and catching damages.
Right.
So just you got to hold them accountable.
Doing walkthroughs and things.
Yeah,
like that.
doing walkthroughs, doing some maintenance inspections, and
Yeah.
you may not have the convenience of being able to just swipe the card, but if you hold them accountable and they know like they're responsible to pay this, you shouldn't need to have to have a card on file.
Right.
I feel like if anything, Marianne's feeling like the card's a safety net, which is
Yeah.
obviously a false sense of security because it's not going to always work. But
Or makes the tenant think like, man, I shouldn't punch the holes in the wall. She's got my credit card on file.
right. Yeah, I think
Go kind of both ways with that.
yeah, there is the psychology behind like they've got my credit card.
I think it's more psychology on the tenant rather than Marianne. I
Yeah.
think Marianne kind of is coming to terms with, well,
unless they're laughing all the way because they gave her a prepaid Visa card that's got $100 on it. Like, yeah, sure, here's my
Right.
credit card.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you got to hold them accountable and do those routine inspections so they know like they're not going to get away with it.
Sure.
And then I guess to tie it back to the question from John is don't take it out of the security deposit if you are mid-lease.
Right.
That security deposit's specifically intended for end of lease damages and things like that.
And I don't want to beat a dead horse or anything with this, but going back to now with John with the situation, before John decides to make any of these, corrections and dumps money into it, I mean, who's to say John fixes the holes in the walls and then all of a sudden the tenant's like, I'm not paying for that.
Yeah.
Take it out of my security deposit. I mean, what does John do at that point? So I would think prior to doing something like that, maybe get estimates and then present it to the tenant and say, hey man,
It's going to cost.
it's going to cost you $2,300. What if the guy laughs on me and be like, good luck, I'm not paying for that? Then do you have him live with holes in the walls? And
No, you start the eviction process.
you just start the eviction
They're
process.
violating the terms of the lease agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so there you go. So
Yeah.
John, Marianne, I hope that kind of answers both your questions. But yeah, again, if you have any variables in there that we're not sure of or we're not seeing here on paper, again, put it in the comments here, and we'll definitely address it. Question from Isabel. So it says here, and I think this is more of an opinion also. What special considerations apply when your rental applicant is in the middle of a divorce?
Oh.
What special considerations apply when your rental applicant is in the middle of the divorce? So it's
Yeah.
just a rental applicant, so they're not living there just yet.
Yeah. Well, you got to know they're on unstable financial ground usually.
Depending on who it is.
Yeah. There's a couple of things to consider. Is alimony considered as, are you making payments to child
support.
Child support.
Sure.
Bankruptcy is a pretty common thing during
Absolutely it is.
or even post divorce. Sometimes it's used as a strategy to protect some assets.
Yep.
Sometimes it's just used as a ripcord because you're used to living in a world where you've got two incomes, now you've got one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of special considerations to be made. I think for the best advice I can give for landlords is you've got to go into it being patient and knowing that you're going to need to be patient.
Mm-hmm.
And work with somebody that they may come to you and say, hey,
Maybe not go a full year. Maybe start out at 6 months. Say,
Yeah.
listen, I can understand your situation here, and you have to understand mine. Things are definitely going to change most likely within the next couple months with hearings and things like that, and money exchanging hands, possibly lawyers. So kind of protect both of you. Maybe go with a 6 month
Yeah.
to start it out, and then if everything feels all right and works out, then say, hey, I'll renew you for a year, or we can figure something out.
I'm going to give an unpopular opinion.
Okay.
Because assuming again, this is an applicant, not yet a
Yeah,
tenant.
it says rental applicant in the middle of a divorce.
Kind of like bankruptcies. I'm way more comfortable post bankruptcy than in the middle of bankruptcy.
Absolutely.
Same thing with divorce. To me, there's a difference between I'm in it, like I'm in it. I'm getting whipped around by the hurricane here.
Sure. Versus you already know this is it. The dust is settled.
Yes.
This is my new situation.
Yes. Yeah.
And moving forward, I can adjust now.
Yeah. Because when you're in it, you're in the fight and getting punched in the face. You don't know what the damage is done. Yet.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Again, unpopular. I'm not saying specifically avoid people going through divorces, but I'm saying if I've got two applicants,
right,
and they look pretty similar on paper,
mm-hmm.
and I've got to make a decision,
yeah,
I'm taking the easier one to manage.
I got you. So yeah, I guess there's two different ways you could go about this, Isabel. You can either one, try to stay away from it, or two, if they're pulling on your heartstrings or whatever the case may be in this situation, and you want to work with them. Maybe go maybe short-term lease, 90 days, 180 days, in my opinion, at most, while they're in this situation with the divorce. And if they don't want to do that, you have to protect yourself also. And what you don't want is, 7-8 months they stop paying rent and they blame it on the divorce and then now you're in a whole new situation. So, I personally would probably go more short-term if I felt that I had to help this person out, or just completely stay clear of it and maybe say hey, help, come back after or whatnot, or however which way you got to reject that. All right.
So we had a question come in from Heidi,
okay.
And I'm assuming Ashley responded to Heidi.
Yep.
So Heidi's asking for a reference or a link to Massachusetts laws for landlords,
okay.
landlord tenant laws.
Yeah.
RentPrep.com is usually a pretty good resource for state laws. If you
sure.
go to our resources, drop down, state laws, find your state on the map.
Mm-hmm.
We give some, high level, real quick, like nuances. How much can you collect in security deposit? What's the limit? That sort of stuff. Sometimes the government links change, so don't get super discouraged if you click a link in there and it's not taking you exactly where you want to go, or it's dead. You can search that stuff by state as well. The point that I wanted to make, though, and you know this from our previous experience and previous industry experience, Massachusetts is a nightmare.
Yes, it is.
Massachusetts is not a landlord
No.
or business-friendly state.
No, they're not.
One of the things that jumps out at me about Massachusetts specifically right now for landlords is they have taken away the ability for landlords to collect any upfront fees, including application fees.
Oh, wow.
So, they're super, super consumer friendly, super tenant friendly. Landlords are bad guys, businesses bad guys. So my advice there, Heidi, is get very, very familiar with your state laws. Massachusetts is not lenient or unforgiving when it comes to mistakes that you might make.
Sure.
So just know that.
Which brings me to my next question here. We're going to kind of jump through these. I had them lined up, but we're going to change it up here. We're in the fight.
Yeah.
Question from Matt. He wants to know where can I download or at least some type of printable type of required landlord forms.
Oh.
So, yeah, that's simple.
RentPrep.com. I feel like
That's what I'm saying.
I usually try not to always pitch RentPrep.com, but we've got a form bundle in there for free. Super valuable.
Yeah, I mean, you go on a RentPrep site, you're going to go at the very top, you see the resource tab. When you put your cursor over that resource tab, it's going to drop down, or you just click right on it, and then where the little magnifying glass is, you actually type in landlord form bundle. There must be at least 20 or 30 different types of forms that I saw in there. It was crazy.
62.
62. And it's free.
Our marketing department hates the fact that it's free.
Yeah.
It's a monetizable asset. For years, we We sold it for 10 or 15 bucks, which was extremely cheap then.
Yeah.
Anywhere else that you go that you're going to buy forms, you're either paying per form
Yep.
or you're paying a subscription, whether you use the forms every month or not.
Yeah.
Um,
So Landlord form
Yeah.
bundle is what you want to type into the RentPrep website. It'll take you right to the resources page, and again, right from there, it will show you where you can click, and it's free, man.
do you know what shocks me about that?
What's that?
People are still to this day downloading waterbed addendums.
Why?
Who's sleeping in a waterbed?
You know, I thought about this. I've gone through about 3 beds in the past 4 or 5 years now. I have a. If anybody wants a Tempur-Pedic Cloud at a reasonable price, reach out to me.
It's only slightly used.
It's queen. No, it's not slick.
It's heavily used.
It's heavily used. No, it's I only slept on it for maybe a year, and I figure I spent the money in it, and I fell for the old, you spend a third of your life sleeping.
Yeah.
So
I wish I did.
so yeah, right. So I ended up buying it, and I don't know, there's something with my back, and I got another one now. So I got this thing wrapped up.
Now you used to have a waterbed.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. I'm to the point now. I actually just asked my wife.
Where would you even buy one? I don't think they sell them at stores anymore.
Marketplace.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
It's not like a cloth where the stuff,
That's true. It doesn't like.
Yeah,
It doesn't absorb.
it doesn't absorb anything.
Yeah. All right.
It's a little bit of Clorox wipes,
Yeah.
and then you're good.
I guess.
That's all I can say. A ton and ton.
I guess. Yeah.
But if I get that, I'll update you guys on that.
All right.
I'm pushing for it.
I'm pushing for it.
I am.
Well, you know where to find. You know where to find the.
I have
the
one.
form.
I had a really nice one, if you remember, way back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
remember.
should have never got rid of it. But
I think you did the right thing.
no, I didn't. That's what the Tempur-Pedic lady said when I bought the Tempur-Pedic. I think you did the right thing.
Famous last words from the salesman.
I feel good
Yeah,
about this.
I feel good about this. You're doing the right thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Glad you think so.
So, Heidi, there you go. Thank you. You're welcome. We are going to move on, and it says here, let's see here. This was anonymous. It says, in community property state, does the spouse need to be added to approve the lease signature since it's committing one party to a lease agreement? So in community property state, does the spouse need to be added to approve the lease signature since it's coming one party to a lease agreement?
Uh,
I'm not sure on that one, guys.
so, just to cover our bases, first I would say, if
Whoever's living in the place, put them on.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Spouse, no spouse, even if it's a boyfriend or a girlfriend, even if they're just friends, college friends.
all occupants over 18,
Everybody over 18, put them in there.
put them on the lease. If this question is, let's say, I'm assuming that what this question potentially is you've got a couple, they're separated.
Okay.
One is now going to move into a place. Do you need to have the signature of the other because it's a community state? Meaning, those states treat the like a joint partnership, right?
Okay.
Like what you do affects me, what I do affects you.
Right.
I don't think so when it comes to leases. I feel like every single state, the language around lease law and lease agreements is pretty similar, pretty standard. If they're an occupant, they've got to sign the agreement. They've got to agree to the terms. That's just good business on the landlord's
Right,
part for
right.
saying, hey, if you're going to live here, you got to abide by these rules.
Yeah.
If they're a financial guarantor,
Okay.
that could be a spouse or it could be a parent or whatever, then they're signing like a co-signer addendum, something like that.
Okay.
But if they're separated and it's a community state, I don't think that the other party needs to sign
Mm-hmm.
to be financially responsible. That's my opinion. That's deep down the rabbit hole. I don't really.
I'm gonna look into that.
Yeah.
I wish they would have put their name on here. We'll figure that out, I guess. I'm gonna look into that, and hopefully we can bring some clarity to that maybe next week.
Yeah. I could be wrong, but my gut tells me you don't need the other. You don't need the other party to. You don't need the other party.
Okay.
Unless you're specifically saying that they're a financial guarantor, if they're not an occupant.
Right.
If they're both occupants, they both sign the lease agreement.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. All right, here we go. Next question. What is an acceptable credit score, income to rent, $1,200 per month?
Okay. You're
Single family house.
okay. Carlos is the math guy, so
So what is an acceptable credit
Okay.
score, income to rent a single family home at $1,200 a month?
well, let's first start with the credit score.
Country average.
Okay. National average.
National average.
National average
I say
for
country.
average. I was like, I don't know.
Country.
Suburban, urban
We're in the
average.
country.
National average for tenants credit score is around 650.
650.
Yeah. So that's a good place to start.
Yep.
Know your geographic and demographics. All right. So, are you in an area where maybe that could potentially be asking a lot? You're not seeing a lot of that. We've talked a little bit about this in the last one. Like, make your standards pretty high.
Yeah.
So if you know that the average is 650, and maybe you set your standard and say 700, okay, that leaves a little bit room for
Right.
an exception, or for you to make a decision call.
Mm-hmm.
And then look at why it's what it is.
Yeah.
I'll make the argument that I could show you people that have scores lower than 600, and there may be pretty good reason for it, meaning like maybe they don't have a lot of credit.
Right.
Maybe
Younger, but they've got a great job.
Yeah. They're working on building it.
They don't have the credit card, the credit lines.
Yeah.
They're not opening them up. They're paying everything cash, things like that.
Yeah. Something happened down the road, like a long enough down the road that maybe they went through a divorce
Right.
3 years ago. Enough time has passed. They're good. They're stable. So
But they are the rebuilding.
yeah, I would say be careful making your decisions just based on score alone, because I don't think that that necessarily tells you everything. If you have other pieces to it.
Right. Well, that's what the second part of the question is: income to rent.
Yeah.
So if the rent's $1,200 a month.
Yeah. So the normal income to rent ratio is 3-to-1.
3-to-1.
So what would that be? $1,200.
36.
$3,600 they've got to be making every single month. 2.5 times, I would say, is the basement.
Yeah.
Don't go lower than that. So what would that bring us out to? Like
About 3,000.
about 3,000. So yeah, so that's got to be their. Here's the important thing. That's their net income,
Right.
not their gross income.
Right.
How much are they making after? It's like EBITDA, right? Like in business terms, like
Yeah.
all right, after you got your taxes and child support or anything else, wage garnishments, whatever it might be, taken out, and that's exactly what you want to be careful of. Is
I think this is why it's important to kind of have the ability to see credit lines if you can.
Mhm. Yeah.
Get that credit score, get that credit report, and you're going to have to do a little bit of math on your own. But again, to kind of get into your question here, the national average is 650. So maybe start that as at your baseline. Come to terms with where the property is, not how the property actually is on the inside. I put my heart and soul into this place, but if it's not in an area that's going to typically see people with that 750, 775 score, you got to be realistic with it, and say, this is where my property actually is. This is
Yeah.
the demographic in this area. This is, kind of where it's at,
I'm gonna again. It's just sheer luck that this is happening. I'm gonna shamelessly plug a RentPrep product because I believe in it.
That's 3 so far.
I know. This is. I would never get away with this if I was on a podcast.
Right.
But this is the RentPrep group, so we can do it.
Sure.
But I genuinely believe in this product, which is our income verification product.
Yeah.
To me, there's no better determination of somebody's qualification when you're talking about rent to income, because it leaves the tricky math out of it. It tells you.
So how do you do this?
So you add it onto your screening package.
Okay, so I'm a landlord.
Yeah.
I'm doing my package.
Yep. You're getting a credit report and criminal
Okay.
records, evictions.
Yep.
$10. Add the income verification. What it's doing
Okay.
is it's scraping the applicant's bank information and multiple bank accounts too. And it's non-invasive. It's not telling the landlord their account numbers or what they're spending their money on.
Is there a twist? Do I have to? What is there a twist to this? Like what? How do I just get this information?
The applicant has to approve it.
That's where it's at.
That might be the rub, right? But
Yeah.
You would think the number is pretty low of applicants saying like, yeah, I'm willing to do this.
Whoa. I'll give you 30 seconds to put in the comments what you think our, what is it? The not recovery,
Completion rate.
Completion rate is. What would you say our completion rate is? Real quick, just put a percentage in there of us getting the okay from the prospective tenant to look at this bank information. Without saying that, keep going. So
Okay.
what's going to happen is,
So they approve it.
okay.
Now what it's doing is it's scraping that just deposit information from any source. So if they're an Uber driver, if they're selling candles on Etsy,
Okay.
they're getting regular W-2 income, doesn't matter. All the deposit information is coming in, and it's telling you what their 30-day average is,
Okay.
90, 1 year, and what all the sources of that income is. So you're not looking at pay stubs
Okay.
that could be pretty easily faked.
Right.
You're not having to calculate, well, what's your net? How much is coming out of your pay? What else are you dealing with it? That sort of thing. So that's why I love that product. It's
For how much do you get it for?
$10.
$10.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead. What's the percentage for the completion rate on that?
70%.
70%.
I almost had to eat my shoe because when we talked about
So you're gonna say something else.
no, that too probably that I did have to eat.
Yeah.
But I remember when we talked about bringing this product on to our product line. I remember saying,
Yeah.
nobody's going to do this. It's kind of like years ago when the idea of paying rent online was pretty new, and I was like, why is someone going to pay rent online when they can just put it, write out a check?
Yeah. How old are you?
Yeah. I'm of the age that it wasn't unusual for people to write checks out at the grocery line.
Oh wow.
Now you get into a fist fight, I feel like.
I would definitely do. I would be the guy back there doing one of these.
Yeah, come on, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Come on,
man?
a check? What are you? Yeah,
You right.
come on, speed this up.
Yeah. I would get angry.
Yeah.
Is there any place around here that you know if they even does it anymore?
It's happened to me a couple times.
Really?
Just randomly you're waiting in line. I remember.
I get mad when somebody still has to punch in their 4-digit pin. It's like, just swipe it and let's go.
I have to punch in the pin. I don't get a choice.
You're lucky I'm not behind you in
Come on,
line.
man. I feel like certain places they tell you.
My father does that. It drives me crazy. I'm like, Dad, just why don't you use a credit card?
Yeah.
Just why do you got to put the pin in?
I remember, right out of boot camp. The only thing it had to have been before debit cards.
Okay.
This was like 1997, and the only thing you get out of boot camp is a checkbook. I remember. I remember going to the Jacksonville, North Carolina mall to buy socks. $6 worth of socks, and I'm paying with a check. I thought I was pretty sophisticated.
What was the name of that bank that they set you up with?
Navy Fed.
Was it Navy Fed?
Yeah.
No. That was when you switched
Fort
over.
Sill National Bank.
Fort Sill FSNB.
Yeah.
So if there's any old school devil dogs out there, you'll know exactly what we're talking about. FSN. I had that even when I came home.
Yeah.
On my 10-day leave.
That felt like the mob.
Yeah.
Hey, you're going to set up a bank account. Do you have a choice? Yeah, you got a choice, but this is your only choice.
Either this or the pit.
Yeah.
While you're pushing in the sand pit, everybody else is filling out their information for FSNB. All right, so $650 looks like our national average. Take a look at RentPrep's sites for that add-on for the income verification. Again, the only, if you want to call it twist or whatever, is that we're going to need to get that tenant compliance. Once you hit that add-on, they're going to get sent an email saying, hey, so-and-so is requesting income verification, authorize it. Once they authorize it, you'll go ahead and you'll get that information that Steve was talking about how they scrape that account, and then you can really see exactly what's going on as far as deposits and things like that go. And especially in today's day and age with those Uber drivers, Grubhubs, and things like that.
DoorDash, yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of stuff, selling stuff on eBay. I know cards are a big thing right now, like sports cards and stuff like that. So EFTs.
Yep.
So all right. So I hopefully that answers your question. We're going to go into, looks like Julie. So Julie asks, according to the rent price of our neighborhood marketing, I try to raise the rent for each house. However, I am afraid of good tenants moving out. What should I do in this situation? Please advise. Thank you.
Well, Julie, you're worried about the right thing. We talk about this a lot. What's the value of a really good tenant? It's high.
I feel like we hit this one last week. Something very similar to this.
Yeah. And I think sometimes landlords, the mistake they make is that they're short-sighted on this issue specifically. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't take a lot of experience to realize, like, okay, you want a really successful, time as a landlord, get a good tenant. That's the first prerequisite.
Right.
You want a really horrible, awful time as a landlord, get a bad tenant.
Sure.
And I would say somewhere in between is just a lot of turnover.
Yeah.
Not good, not bad tenant, just constant turnover.
Yeah.
It's a lot of heavy lifting on the landlord's part to constantly turn that property over, paint, clean,
Yep.
market, fill it, rinse, repeat, do it again.
Sure.
So I'd love some. If anyone has some sort of math on that, it might even be worth us creating some content. Ashley, take a note. I'd love to know what the true cost of a turnover is, because when you figure all things considered,
right,
it's a lot, and it's hard to measure some of those intangibles like your time and that sort of stuff. So, so the value of a good tenant is high.
What about putting in your lease? Rent increases on the 12-month anniversary 10%.
3% usually.
3%.
Yeah, that's usually.
I would do 10. That's just me though.
Got to be careful. You can in your state.
Well, if I'm in California,
Is it 10 or 5?
5, but then you got to put in consideration the CPIs. You can't go maximum of 10.
Oh, so it's a delicate balance.
Do 5. I would go 5.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea to put it in a lease. That way, there's no surprises. Right. You're not pulling the rug out from under them.
And then if they're there for 2 or 3 years and they start balking on it, you can say, "Well, I'll tell you what."
I was just gonna say, make yourself the hero, right?
Right.
Say it's gonna be 5%. Say, listen, you're a great tenant.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna raise you 5%.
We're good.
Yeah.
And obviously they're gonna want that in writing so that you can't come after a year and say you owe me $60 or whatever the 5% is.
Right. Yeah.
That's only if they're charging $100.
Yeah. The danger of pushing and pushing, and as landlords, we may not see it as greed. But trust me when I tell you, other people will.
Yeah.
And so be careful of where the line is. And
She's good.
Yeah, Ashley is good. Careful where the line is, and don't be willing to lose a potential long-term tenant over 2% or
up to 5%.
$100 a year, whatever. I don't know. So
We figure $1,200. Let's just say Salim, $1,200 a month. You figure 5%. That's $60.
Yeah.
60 times 12 is what? 72.
I don't know.
So $720. So if you were Salim, who's renting their house out for $1,200 a month, and you increase 5%, which we both agree is probably the max you want to do, you're making an additional $720 a year. And according to our info or our marketing guru,
yeah, she's quick. She's quick.
She's amazing. She already answered that question. On average, tenant turnover costs around $1,825 every time an apartment unit goes vacant. So you're gonna essentially, or possibly run the risk of, the average cost of $1,825 versus making not even half of that, which would be $720 at a 5% increase of $1,200.
Yeah. So
I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah, you're risking $1,800 to make an
additional $720.
Yeah, it's bad.
So
bad
it's
math, bad business.
it's not bad math, bad business. I like that. We should make shirts and put them on RentPrep like that.
Bad math, bad business.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. Or it's not personal.
It's not
business.
personal. It's business.
Yeah.
Or go to the resource page.
Yeah.
To say,
or principal is expensive.
Right.
That's my.
You like that?
I like that a lot.
Principal is expensive.
That's my line for cash for keys.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be right, or you want to get rid of that bad tenant. It's up to you.
I like that cash for keys too. That's another T-shirt.
Yeah. Oh, cash for keys.
Cash for keys.
Yeah, RentPrep merch. We need to come up with that.
Yeah. Look out for that, guys.
Yeah.
Look out for our T-shirt line.
Yeah.
All right. Are we good with Julie?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Marianne. Question for Marianne asks, is vehicle registration public record? I dug into this a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Kind of answer, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Sure.
Well, I know that the DMV sells it.
Okay.
The reason that everybody gets vehicle warranty calls is because the DMV is selling your information.
Right.
It's infuriating.
I guess it depends on who's trying to obtain it.
Yeah,
how they're obtaining it.
Yeah, I would say Mary Ann, depending on what you do, but let's just assume you're not in the data business.
Right.
Then no, you're not going to. So in other words, you're not going to be able to Google and find somebody's vehicle registration
Right.
information.
Exactly.
Is it available out there to the people who have reasons to access it? Yeah, of course.
Sure.
Yeah, I could take a plate number right now and run it in our system and tell you, what the vehicle is, who's registered to it, and then I can tell you how many other vehicles they have registered and look at the past 10 years of how many vehicles they've registered. I mean, that, it may or may not shock you nowadays how much information is actually out there and available to the right people that are looking.
So what I found was that personal information of driving records is heavily protected by federal law and by states' interpretation of that law. It says the Federal Driver's Privacy Protection Act of 1994 codified protections against disclosing personal information associated with driver's licenses unless express permission of the subject whose records are being assessed is obtained.
So that's permissible purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be permissible.
Yep. So that's the basis of our business, right? The
Right.
screening, they sign the application. On the application, they're agreeing that they're going to have a background check ran.
Vehicle registration, though.
Yeah.
Why do you think you would want something like that?
We used to, so
For big complexes, like who's going to be driving in who's going to be parking in the spots? I don't know.
I can't think of a very good reason.
Vehicle registration, public record. I don't know why you would need to know that.
Yeah. I can't think of a good tenant screening reason.
Marianne, if you're out there and you're watching this, just give us a little insight. Let us know what you're trying to get at. We might be able to give you better direction in how to obtain the information you're trying to obtain from a registration from a vehicle. We might be able to help you out.
I had a thought.
If you plug RentPrep one
No,
more time.
No. But what I'm thinking is maybe it's like trying to execute on a judgment, trying to see what type of assets the person has. Although that does actually no. You're barking up the wrong tree if that's the case, Marianne. Because just because the vehicle is registered to you does not necessarily mean that you own the vehicle or own enough of it that you'd be able to freeze that as an asset if you're trying to execute a judgment. So I agree with you. I can't think of a legitimate good reason off the top of my head why you'd want vehicle registration information or what value that would have.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you're listening, reach out to us. Just give us a heads up. Again, you may be trying to obtain some information that we might be able to help you out through another search somewhere with some of the resources that we provide to all of our landlords. So all right, so that's Marianne. John, question from John. He asks, when it comes to tenant screening, I understand having a set criteria such as like your credit score, income, etc. How do you include the following criteria examples without opening yourself up to housing liabilities? So, looks like John wants to walk the gray area.
Walk the tightrope. All right.
All right. So he gives us two gray area situations here. A, you look a prospective tenant up on Facebook and see they posted something about not paying rent or destroying their current apartment.
Can I
jump right in? Just get right in.
Let me address these one at a time.
There's only two, so yeah.
Okay. Facebook. Simple.
Don't trust it.
Yeah.
On Facebook, I drive a Maserati.
So, why a Maserati?
I don't know. It's the first car that came by. I think I saw something.
All right.
I just like the way it rolls off the tongue.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
I get that. So, all right. To make sure that you're not potentially going to be accused of discrimination, you've got to make sure that you're checking everybody's Facebook. Okay?
Yeah.
So if you and I walk up to a landlord and we each hand our applications in, and he, for whatever reason, he's doing it right in front of us, and he looks at you and goes, "Thanks for your application, Carlos." Then he looks at me and goes, "Let's look up your Facebook."
Yeah.
Right? Okay. That's a no-no. So what you do to one, you have to do to all.
How do you prove that you're doing that?
And here's the other issue, which is in our industry, this is sort of a problem. What happens if what happens if yours is private and mine is not?
Right.
So it's difficult. You can make the attempt, but you're not going to.
You're not going to get everything.
You're not going to get everything. So, regardless of just me just saying that, I will say it's a good idea to look it up.
Okay.
It's a good idea to look it up. And the reason is, man, there's no politically correct way to say this. The dumbest people keep their stuff on public. It's almost like they're proud to show you how crazy they are.
Yeah.
When we used to do social media screening,
Mm-hmm.
you remember
Oh,
back in the day, I remember one kid just got his driver's license, scanned a picture of his driver's license,
Put it on Facebook.
and posted that. It's like, what world are you in that's a good idea? That's insane.
Yeah.
So it's not bad to look. All right.
But how do you use that tool to?
You gotta be careful
without opening yourself to liabilities.
Again, this is not the on the record answer.
You gotta give the on the record answer. You're live, man.
All right. Well, how about this? If you wanted to walk the gray area,
Okay.
you would look, and if there was something concerning, you want to be able to deny somebody on the basis of something that you can put your finger on.
Right.
Right? So,
So maybe if you see something crazy like that, maybe you should ask the tenant or the prospective tenant, say, hey man, what would your last landlord say about you if I were to call him up and ask, hey, can you describe how he left the property?
Yeah.
Kind of call him out on that. Just kind of.
you should ask that anyway.
Well, you should ask that.
Yeah, that's a good question anyway, yeah.
If I were to do this,
Right.
what do you think they would say?
Yeah.
What if they don't put their landlord down as a reference? Can you say, hey man, I gotta talk to this guy before I can.
Oh yeah, if you get an application back and it's half filled out, you kindly push it back across and say, I need, you fill the whole thing out and then I can accept it.
Right.
I can't accept it if it's filled with blank spaces. The only reason you should be putting no landlord information in is if you're living with your parents or,
Right.
There's a reasonable explanation. But if it's like, I don't have the number on me, I forgot it, whatever. No,
Can
we'll find it.
you put on the application legally? You are giving us the okay to check your social media, like a disclosure.
Well, so anytime
I know employers do that sometimes.
So, there's sort of this blanket disclosure when it comes to rental applications specifically that say, you're giving us permission to do an investigative consumer report or a background check,
Yeah.
and that language is sort of loose, right?
Right.
Sometimes it'll specifically say credit report, sometimes it'll specifically say criminal, sometimes it just kind of generically and vaguely says background check.
Okay.
So I don't think that you need to put, we're going to check your social media. I think that's unnecessary, but, and you don't want to tell anyone ahead of time either.
Right.
Because then it's,
You start editing it or put it on private. Right
yeah,
away.
just put it on private right away. So,
John, I don't know, man. That kind of freaks me out a little bit. I'll be honest with you, especially if you already understand that you could possibly be set up for some type of liabilities or something like that, law liabilities. I mean, if you're already questioning it,
Yeah.
I would probably stay clear of something like that and just stick to the black and white, man. But he's got another one here, and this one I like. I shouldn't chuckle, but I don't know. It says here, the other example is, what if they are rude during a showing and seem like they would be difficult to work with as a tenant?
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, that's legit.
see, with me, I feel like I couldn't hold that, unfortunately, against somebody. Like, what if our personalities just clash, but this guy's going to pay rent every time, and I almost feel like if I don't,
Okay, well,
it's like, why didn't you get it? Because you were
let me let me save you. Let me save you. Let me propose a situation to you.
all right,
You got a tenant,
yeah,
and this person pays. Let's just say, for the sake, her name is Karen, and she pays on time every time.
yep,
Right? Except between the first of the month, every month, you're getting calls for all kinds of stuff that there's nothing you can do about it, and it's getting to the point where it is a nuisance for you,
yeah,
right?
Okay.
There's crows outside. These are all, by the way, these are all things that I've actually heard tenants complain about. The crows are waking me up in the morning. What are you going to do about that?
yeah.
I locked my keys in the house again. How is that your fault?
So, like, how would you determine though?
Because
All
it's,
of that by, I mean,
So
I see what you're saying though.
But so landlords always have this ripcord that they can pull,
Okay.
which is undue harm, and that saves landlords from having to install an elevator to make reasonable accommodations for somebody with special needs.
Okay.
Landlords have to make reasonable accommodations, which means, hey, you got to install a handrail in the shower. Cool.
Yeah.
That's not a big ask. We can do that for you.
Okay.
Hey, I'm in a wheelchair and I want to be on the 3rd floor, and I need an elevator. That's unreasonable. That's going to cause the landlord undue harm. Same goes for, you have to accept somebody that has an emotional support animal.
Right.
But if that emotional support animal is a restricted breed, and maybe it's a pit bull, and your insurance company says, hey, if you rent to that person and they've got a pit bull on the property, we're canceling your coverage. That's
Gotcha.
going to cause you undue harm.
Okay.
I could make the case that, psychological abuse is undue harm,
Right.
and you don't want to enter into that situation. These are, we always talk about nurture the relationship.
So can John
two-way
make
street.
Can John make a decision based on that without dabbling in that housing law liabilities?
Depending on where you are, and that's the frustrating part. When you see certain areas like Portland, Oregon is an example, and I know there's some places, I think Seattle maybe now too, where it's the, the actual catchy name of it's escaping me, but in other words, you have to go by first qualified. You have to remove those other factors.
Okay.
So create your screening criteria.
Mhm.
First person to hit that qualification, they're it. In most states, it's best fit. You can make a decision based on the best fit.
Okay.
So, just be careful where you are, that you're not bound by any laws or restrictions. That's going to put you in a bad spot if you
How do
make
you
a
how do you
decision
find
like
those? Like, where would you, if you were like, I don't.
RentPrep.
You did it
State.
again.
Yeah.
Son of
I
a-
feel like you set me up for that, though.
I do, but I'm hoping that you kind of get past it and not bite on it, man.
Oh, I mean, it's all in one.
All right. Okay, so, yeah. Again, if that's the case, and you're not sure of it, double check the website. Look at the resource page. We should be able to at least have some type of answer out there. And if not, then just reach out to us. Give us a call. One of our screeners might be able to look a little bit deeper into it or something like that too, if you're a client of ours. So
Again, not the politically correct answer,
yeah.
but I know a lot of landlords that use successful methods
Yeah.
that are not traditional methods. You can't put it on a screening criteria.
Right.
For example, if you go to a showing and you happen to walk by that tenant's vehicle that they drove to, and it looks like a cockpit because all the seats are filled with garbage except for the driver's area, because they're hoarders, that's a pretty good indication of the way
That's how they live.
That's how they live and what they're going to treat the apartment like.
Right.
Um,
Hopefully it's the right car you're looking at.
yeah, yeah. So
Oh man, that was the guy next door.
yeah, that wasn't me.
That wasn't me. All right, Miss Lisa Howard. She is, I'm assuming she's watching us live. She asked, "What is the average turnaround time for the RentPrep background checks?"
If you're ordering during business, it's going to be about an hour. So those are all done by a screener by hand. So if you have questions on those, you can call. Usually talk to the screener that compiled the report for you.
Yep.
If you're ordering after hours, let's say you feel the need at midnight to order a RentPrep background check, they're going to get processed in the order that they came in first thing in the morning, and we usually catch those up within the first hour, maybe two if it's like a Monday. Mondays are, all
On the
weekend.
weekend.
Yeah, all weekend landlords are collecting applications, doing showings, and so we usually come into Monday like a bomb went off. So
Yeah.
But
Extra coffee on my
yeah,
way.
good question,
Good
Lisa.
night's sleep.
About an hour.
Navin Kumar. Does no pets in rental application means animal discrimination?
So, yeah. I'm trying to remember what the attorney that we had on the podcast said about.
But isn't there a difference between a service animal and a pet?
Yes.
Right. So, I can see maybe if you put no service or no pets, and this includes service animals, or doesn't include service animals
Yeah.
with proper documentation.
Yeah.
I don't see an issue with that.
Yeah, I feel like no pets is safe.
Definitely, because I mean,
You're not saying
didn't they do that thing with the service animals? Like now they have to give documentation because people were saying, my pig is, or my peacock, or my ostrich, some crazy stuff.
they could still have legit documentation and still have an ostrich as a service animal. That's those laws need to be.
So I would say
Okay.
no pets on the rental application. Service animals require proper documentation, and I think you'd be safe with that.
Yeah. What for sure you don't want to do is say you do not want to say no service animals.
Absolutely not.
That's discrimination.
Yeah, you would have to say, but service animals are the exception with proper documentation.
Yeah.
You're saying no pets.
You're saying no pets,
There's
which
just no pets.
a service animal and an emotional support animal
Right.
is not a pet
Correct.
according to law.
Yep.
So
Yeah. Because you don't want to. I mean, even like for instance, somebody who's visually impaired that has a dog.
yeah,
You're not going to not rent to that person because they have
it's
assistance in that way.
it's driving me crazy that I can't recall the podcast. So Navin, if you go to rentprep.com and look up Jamie Kane is the name of the attorney that we had on, and she's looked at as the leading expert in this specific area, and she had a lot of great insight and information. And I think her name is Jamie, or you can just look up emotional support animals in the search. But we did a video podcast, and I'm pretty sure we posted the video. She was like a wealth of knowledge, and I feel like that's a good refresher. So that's worth checking out. But yeah, you just want to make no pets is not discrimination. Saying specifically no service animals, no emotional support animals. That is discrimination.
Right.
Hey, Ashley Clutch again. Thanks, Ash.
Oh man.
So there you go. Episode 170, ESA Troubles with Jamie Kane.
Mitchell.
Jamie Michelle Kane.
Jamie Michelle Kane.
Yeah. I went through that period of time where I was like, I'm Stephen Michael White. But it's because there's 2,700 Stephen Whites in the country. So I was trying to distinguish myself. Until somebody said, hey, I went to a...
How many Stephen Whites?
2,700.
How many Stephen Michael Whites? 2,600?
Yeah, exactly. No, I stopped using it because somebody said, hey, I went to a Stephen Michael White middle school. And I looked it up. That's the name of the middle school. And I was like, oh, man. That's not the whole reason why.
Did you say thanks for the support?
Yeah, I said yeah. You wouldn't believe what I did there to get the.
You wouldn't believe what it took for me to get that building.
You wouldn't believe how many pull-ups I had to do.
Oh my!
You've seen people get their name raised in the rafters in the gym.
Yeah.
Imagine having the school named after you.
Yeah.
Man, I broke every record there.
Pull-up records, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
Pull-up records. All right. Question from Paula. Paula asks, I just learned that. This is. You know what? Hold on.
Oh boy.
This I read this prior to the cast here, and I asked a couple people in the office their opinions, because this is an opinion. This is a moral kind of dilemma, and I'll be honest with you, I'm torn. I still don't have an answer for this because I can see it both ways, and both ways are right. All right, so get ready for this.
I can't wait. All right,
here we go. Question from Paula. She says, I just learned that a sexual predator moved in next door to our rental property. Our lease template has the Megan's Law paragraph, and I am not obligated to tell prospective renters. How do I do this, though, in good conscience? So the place isn't rented out yet.
Yeah.
She technically, legally doesn't have to tell the person, because under Megan's Law requires that the police departments are able to provide some type of tools necessary for people to kind of look that stuff up on their own.
And they send out flyers.
And things like that. But I completely understand where Paula's coming from. She has to, okay, so not only is she trying to rent a house,
Yeah.
or whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
she's paying on that right now until she can get it rented out.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, and again, she's not obligated to tell these people, but in the same sense, yeah, man, how do you not say, hey, especially if there's a little kid or something like. I don't mean to listen. I don't want to blanket everything that if you're a sexual predator. It's just I'm just saying in general, like anybody, I guess you could say. It doesn't matter who it is. A sexual predator is a sexual predator, plain and simple.
Yeah.
And yeah, how do you do that?
So that my mind immediately went to because when we do a background check, and we see somebody shows up on the sex offender registry.
Right.
We get the details on what the offense was.
Right.
Right. And they're as disturbing as you can imagine. Right.
Okay.
So let me just give you a scenario.
Okay.
You're the landlord. You look this person up.
Right.
It's public information.
Okay.
You find out that they abused a 9-year-old
right
girl.
Okay.
Right. And it will give very specific details like that.
Sure.
Okay. You do a showing.
Right.
The couple that you're showing the apartment to
Yeah.
has a 9-year-old girl.
Sure.
Okay, so let's just say you go, let me push this, I need to get this place filled, whatever, you do it. 2 months later you find out
something happened. That's the scenario that one of the people here at the office said I couldn't live with myself.
Yeah, that's the burden of knowledge. It's not the right business. Business move.
Yeah, I mean, if you tell everybody, hey, how do you like the place? It's beautiful, but just so you know, next door there's a sexual predator. Do you really think you'll ever rent that property out?
I know it's not the right answer. But my gut wants to say, I have the burden of knowledge now. I know this.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm showing the place to someone, and they've got a kid,
mm-hmm.
and there's there's a nexus between what happened with the predator and this kid moving in,
then you would say something.
I agree.
But what if okay, so let's just say that was a situation. A sexual predator said the 9-year-olds, and then you have a couple that goes in, and then 2 months later, God forbid something happens to one of the people, because the sexual predator, they only caught him for that one, or her for that one, whatever the case. But you know what I'm saying? So it's like, where do you draw that line? Can you draw that line? I feel it's either you say something or you don't.
Yeah, the right answer is you don't say anything. I just don't like that. I don't like it. I know that's the right answer. The right answer is don't say anything. If you could sleep with that at night, then God bless you. I'd be really torn. I really would. I would struggle with that. So, but I know the right answer is.
I had one of the people here say, tell them they just need to sell the house. That's no longer your. Sorry.
No, don't do that. Because that person could move or whatever,
right.
And I don't know. I'd even say maybe it's wrong, but the situation you described, maybe, some couple moves in or whatever, that they're going to get notified eventually. And then it's up to them. They could say, okay.
I don't know. No, I think it's when the person moves into the neighborhood is when they send out the pamphlets to the surrounding areas of however many miles, and then maybe once a year they send it out. But it's not to every single person that moves into a new dwelling.
Yeah, but I think it's when you change, if you do a change of address.
Oh.
That comes with the change of address as well. If it's within a certain area of your new address.
Yeah. Paula, that's a tough one. Again, like Steve said, there's.
It's a great question.
Yeah, and I don't even like to say the right answer.
Yeah.
Because again, it's a moral issue. It's a moral question.
Yeah.
So.
I'm the wrong person to ask that question to. I make. My decisions are not always driven by.
Unless you ask her, ask him, Paul. Let's just say, hey, are you guys from the area? Have you guys done your due diligence and looked into, the area? Are you familiar with it? And, there's a lot of different tools out there. There's,
All right. Now, if the place was haunted, I'm not saying anything. I'm just making that clear. I know that's a question we've had in the past too.
If the place is haunted?
Yeah, I'm not saying anything.
You know what? Digging a little bit deeper into that, are you obligated to tell
if
somebody died in it?
Somebody was murdered in it?
Yeah, I'm dead, murdered. Yeah, you're dead. Like if somebody died, and it doesn't matter how they died. Do you have to? Okay, so what about murdered?
I think if you're purchasing the property, there's disclosures
Is
that
there?
if you ask specifically, they don't have to disclose up front, but if you ask, you have to tell them.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's any realtors out there that know the law specifically, there's a name to it too, and I can't remember what it is, but yeah.
Reaper law, I think it is.
The Reaper law, I like that.
You like that?
Yeah. So I know we got to wrap up soon. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure we get to the live questions.
Yeah,
So
we got Debbie Lee on.
Yeah.
Debbie Lee, the tenant refused to sign a lease and wait. The tenant refused to sign the lease and refused to pay rent. They also refused to move out. We are in the eviction process. Tenant, no, I am going to evict them, but they still stay in the property.
Yeah, welcome to the club.
Is there any reason why tenant think they will win in court?
No,
They're just at this point they're living for free.
They know
They already knew that that's it. It's over with.
they know the system.
So they might as well just kind of drag it out.
Unfortunately, Debbie, probably not the answer you want, but they know the system, and they're gonna get the free stay for as long as they can, and that's the unfortunate side of it. I know that especially through the pandemic, everybody's talking about people can't pay the rent, their fear of getting evicted, and this and that. Not enough time was spent on what the landlords are dealing with and going through in those situations.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying people aren't suffering. I'm not discounting their suffering by saying landlords are suffering too. I'm just saying landlords are suffering too. That's a bad situation. So now, Debbie here is trying to make a good investment.
Cash for keys.
Yeah, she's got it. We'll get back to that.
Okay.
She's making an investment. She's paying a mortgage on this thing. It's costing her.
Yeah.
Every day. So that stinks. So yeah, sorry to hear that, Debbie. Let's talk real quick about it. Cash for keys, one potential option. Although, if they're already in the eviction process.
If they're in the eviction process. We are in the eviction process.
Yeah. So
I guess it depends on how deep into the eviction process you are. Are you in the eviction process, meaning that you have decided you are going to file an eviction and you're about to do that, or are you already halfway through it? How far into the eviction process are you is the question. And if you're not that far in, at what point do you think she has the ability to still make the decision cash for keys? How far in do you think she has to be before that's
I think the
point of no return?
I think the leverage is before the eviction's filed. And that's part of the power.
So if you haven't filed it yet, but you've already made the decision to do that, but you haven't filed it yet, and you're considering that part of the process, then consider the cash for keys scenario.
If you've already filed and you're waiting for the court, wait for the court. Let the process take its course.
Yeah.
Screen really well next time. Not saying you didn't do it this time. I'm just saying,
continue to screen.
Yeah,
maybe
you'll know you don't want to go through this again. Not fun. Bye, Heidi. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, so you want one more from Nevin?
Let's see here. In RentPrep background order for income verification, tenant was not comfortable to log in with the bank details.
Yep.
Have you thought about accepting bank statements, pay stubs, etc., and upload them on the link provided for income verification?
So, I'll give you my thoughts on this. Tenant doesn't feel good logging into a third-party website with bank details. Listen, I get it. Mm-hmm. I get it. I do. I will say this, Nevin. If you're a numbers guy or a data-driven guy,
7 out of 10 people do it.
70% of people do it. And I stand by the claim that good tenants know how things go.
Yeah.
That should be on the shirt. Good tenants know how things go. Maybe.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. It's wordy. But the point is, they know the rules of engagement. They understand what's expected. We hear this a lot of times. The tenant doesn't want to give me their social security number. Okay. That's part of the process.
Right.
So let me ask you, Nevin, if you're going to buy a house, and the bank tells you, we want to look at everything.
Right.
You purchase a house, you know the process, and you tell them, I'm not cool with this.
I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah. If anything, I would also argue that uploading bank statements is far less secure than logging
yeah.
into a secure portal.
Yep.
But I even saying all that, I get it.
So he has to have any tips. So you still got him on the hook.
Yeah, my tip is don't accept the bank statements and pay stubs without really scrutinizing and verifying, because we see a lot of fake stuff out there.
Oh, okay.
What were you thinking?
It comes down to this individual is just not trusting the method. So it's almost going to be like a sales pitch, man.
Or the landlord.
Or the landlord.
And no offense, Nevin, I say that a lot of times too.
Yeah.
Good tenants know the process, and
Yeah.
if they're not comfortable, that's a good time to check yourself too and say, am I doing everything right and giving this person the warm and fuzzy
of how you're presenting it.
Yeah, and that I can be trusted.
Right.
You know, if I go to, and again, I'm not saying this is the case. There's no offense intended, but if I'm doing a showing and something about me gives somebody the uneasy feeling of like, I don't know if I want this person having my information.
Right.
Maybe I showed up late. I don't seem responsible.
Maybe you're wearing a half shirt with your belly button showing.
Yeah, exactly. And my belly button's pierced.
Oh man,
that's a red flag. It's a red flag.
You went over with the piercing.
Yeah.
I thought I was dabbling in that area with the half shirt, but you decided to just build off of that.
Would you give a middle-aged man wearing a half shirt and a belly button ring your social security number?
Nope.
All right. So okay. Most likely, this case, this person doesn't want to give their bank logging information, which again is reasonable. I get it. You know.
Explain that in the process.
Yeah. Explain
how you're not doing it. It's being done from an outside service. This is what they do. It's just like any other precaution that any other creditor is going to take. The reason why banks don't do it is because they already have your information, for the most part.
Yeah, and tell them to do a little bit of homework too.
Yeah.
You know, check the link, check the website when they log onto it before they log in. It's got the same encryption as bank encryption.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we don't get pushback. There's a reason why we don't get pushback from people who are very tech savvy. It's because they know
they get it.
Yeah, they get it. That's a super secure way to do it.
Yeah.
So kind of coach them through that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I get it though. That to me, that's not necessarily the same as I don't want to give my social security number, but kind of in the same boat could be.
I got a very fast one here because I know we got to wrap it up here, and we never got into any of the state law questions, but there is one here. I think we can answer fairly quickly. It's a question from Catan. Is there a California requirement in taking deposits when renting? In other words, can a landlord take months of rent as a deposit? And that's the short answer I came up with on the Civil Code CIV. So yes, to answer your question, yes. There is a, almost I guess you could say a cap.
Yeah. A lot of states have that. You can only charge 1 month rent, 2 months rent, $1,000, nothing above that.
Right.
Do you know where you can find that information by state?
Don't say it.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have to say it. It's like that song Roxanne. Every time you say Roxanne, you do a shot.
Yeah.
We're gonna do the RentPrep game.
Just saying, you know, check your state resources. Some of the best places to find them. You know. There's a single location that makes it pretty easy.
Yeah.
Its color scheme is green.
Yep.
Yeah. Check
All right. Go on the website.
Yeah, that's right.
Check it out. But I think that's. Do you have any more? Is that our time? We got to get out of here or what?
Yeah, I think so. Thanks for being patient. If you guys were waiting as we work through
technical difficulties,
we will figure it out for the next one.
Yeah.
We've tried hooking up a much better microphone, but
yeah, we know we're coming in a little echoey or just like we're in an empty room. We're not in an empty room.
We kind of are.
A little bit.
It's glass.
It is glass.
So.
Hey, if you guys have an idea for a T-shirt slogan for RentPrep, send it out to us. I know last time we asked for what color tie.
That's dangerous.
For Carlos to wear.
It's dangerous. You're asking for.
I just want to know.
You're asking for trouble.
What was the one example?
Of what?
The long-winded one you said?
The T-shirt?
Yeah. Cash for keys is my cash for keys.
I don't know. Something, it rhymed, which was good,
Yeah.
but it was wordy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of options, but
Try to get something short and sweet. I don't know. I'm just curious to kind of see. Maybe we put on a coffee mug or something.
yeah, can't
You
be obscene, or it can be obscene.
It's gotta pertain to landlords. So like a landlord see that, be like, oh my god, I know exactly what that means. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like this whole thing with Brandon. Who's Brandon? Do you hear about this?
No.
There's shirts everywhere. I'm seeing them everywhere. And I asked a buddy of mine, younger guy, who's again one of these techie guys. He mentioned it yesterday, and he's like, "Yeah, I support Brandon." I said, "Well, who's Brandon?"
Yeah.
And I saw it on shirts like "Go Brandon." Apparently, Brandon doesn't exist.
We're out of the zeitgeist. We're not in the loop anymore.
Yeah.
We're too old. That happens.
Well, Brandon, if you're out there, let me know what's the deal with you,
Yeah.
and turning to him for motivation
Right,
and supporting.
right.
All right, but yeah, hit us up with some of those slogans for a T-shirt or a coffee cup. Definitely want to take a look at those. Thanks again for your time. We're gonna be back in a month.
About a month.
Before Thanksgiving.
Probably.
So we'll hit you guys up before we eat turkey, mashed potatoes, and some stuffing. And until then, if you have any questions about anything, feel free to reach out to us or check out the website for any resources that you may need.
All the resources.
I'm sure Steve plug number 10.
Yeah. State resources, forms, you get it all.
Get it all.
ESAs,
ESAs.
podcasts.
Yep.
Everything's there.
Everything is there. All right, cool guys. All right, thanks again for stopping out. We will see you in a couple weeks, and stay in touch. Are you gonna hit the thing?
Yeah, I got a finger pad here. I got to do this with.
You got big fingers.